So I've always really liked the Surface headphones as a pair of mid-tier ANC headphones, and in general, the Surface headphones are a really good first try for Microsoft. So when I saw that Microsoft announced their new Xbox gaming headset, I was really excited. Now, overall, Xbox's new headset is fine and it gets the job done, but these aren't going to be my new go-to gaming headset. Price-wise, this headset retails for $100, which is not bad at all, but there are some third-party options out there that outperform this headset in key areas. If you decide to go with this headset, it's okay, but depending on your needs or wants, you might want to go with something else. Now first, let's talk about build quality. It's okay for a $100 headset. We've got slightly textured plastic on the ear cups. The ear pads themselves pivot up and down a little bit. There's a decent click to the headband itself, which I am a fan of. There's a decent amount of padding underneath the headband, and both the headband and ear pads are wrapped in a decent feeling leatherette. But when it comes to fit and comfort, this is where build quality comes into play a little bit. One very important thing to keep in mind here is that the ear cups on this headset don't swivel. They can only tilt up and down a little bit, which means that for some people, this headset won't rest as naturally on your head as other headsets whose ear cups have more range of motion. For me, I can't help but notice that these ear pads put a little more pressure on the front of my ears than on the back, especially since this headset does have a little bit of a snug fit to it, similar to the Surface headphones. But clamping force aside, this headset is a little on the smaller side. Personally for me, I gotta extend this headband all the way out, so for that reason, I don't think this headset is big head approved. Then there's also their weight. This headset weighs in at 312 grams, which is a little on the heavier side, because most headphones weigh in at 270 grams and below. So with this headset, you're not going to notice them too much when you're gaming with them, but you never forget that you're wearing them. But then there are the earpads. The earpads themselves are super spacious and they should have no problem accommodating most ear types. However, these earpads are covered in leatherette. There is a significant amount of surface area that comes in contact with your skin, and there is a significant amount of padding, which means these earpads do like to collect heat. So overall, when it comes to fit and comfort, they get the job done, but there is a lot of room for improvement, like swiveling ear cups, which would allow for a more natural feeling fit. A larger headband would be nice because this headset is a little on the smaller side, and personally, I would have preferred fabric ear pads so that they'd be more breathable. But now let's talk about tech specs. This headset charges via a USB-C port, which is great if you're using an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S because you can charge your headset and your controller with the same cable. But if you're still using a last-gen Xbox One, then you are going to have to use two separate cables to charge your headset and your controllers because those controllers still charge via a micro USB port. However, when it comes to battery life, this headset has an advertised battery life of 15 hours, which is pretty average for a gaming headset like this. The only thing to keep in mind is that you are going to have to charge your headset twice as much as your controllers because Xbox's rechargeable battery has an advertised battery life of 30 hours. Now, when it comes to connectivity, this headset can connect to either the Xbox Series or the Xbox One, and there are no extra transmitters to plug into your Xbox. Now, when it comes to performance, I have no complaints. Every time that I power this headset on, it just connects to your Xbox. Latency isn't an issue, and they never cut out. But this headset also has Bluetooth, so you can pair it up to your phone and you can either listen to music or watch a movie off of your phone. But more importantly, you can play a game and listen to a podcast at the same time, which could be a very big deal for people who like to play a lot of open world games. But another very important thing to keep in mind is that this headset doesn't have an audio jack, and personally I do think that's a pretty big deal. Because if this headset were to die on you in the middle of a game, you're not going to be able to, at the very least, rush and plug them into your Xbox controller and finish up your game. And I really harp on this because this has happened a lot to me, especially when I'm playing ranked. Now, Microsoft claims that a 30-minute charge on this headset from a dead battery will get you 4 hours of playback time. But personally, I feel that as long as your Xbox controller has an audio jack, so should your headset, so that you can use a wired connection either when you have to or when you want to. Because like I just said, if this headset were to die on you in the middle of a game, you're not going to be able to plug them in. Or if your friends are telling you, hey, get on right now, and then you gotta be like, oh no, wait, I gotta charge my headset. So, you know. But now let's talk about sound. In general, this is a very bass heavy headset, so you are really going to want to play around with the EQ settings on this headset, which you can do so directly from your Xbox. Now, from a performance standpoint, this headset gets more than loud enough and distortion isn't a problem. But personally, I can't help but feel that this headset does sound rather narrow. For me, I can't help but notice that it's been a little harder to pinpoint just how far away people are, because sometimes I would hear footsteps and think that they were farther away than they actually were, but then, you know, like turn a corner and then they're like right there. So yeah, for me, this headset does sound a little narrow. Now, when it comes to actually controlling your sound, this headset is using very similar dials to the ones found on the Surface headphones. The right dial is used to raise or lower your volume, and then the left dial is used as your mixer so that you can adjust how much of your game audio you hear and how much of your chat you hear. But with all of that aside, the most important thing to point out about this headset sound quality wise is, unfortunately, this headset doesn't have dynamic range compression, which could be a very big deal if you're a competitive FPS player. Now let's take me for example. I like to play a lot of Apex, so I like to use my headset at a higher volume so that I can listen for footsteps and those nuanced sounds so that I can find my targets and hear for what they're actually doing. Now, if you were to play with this headset at a higher volume, yeah, you'll hear those nuanced sounds, but the second that you get caught in a gunfight or if you start shooting your gun, those gunshots are going to be super loud. Now, you could use this headset at a lower volume so that you don't go deaf when you shoot your own gun or get shot at, but if you lower the volume on this headset too much, then it does become harder to listen for those footsteps and more nuanced sounds. Now, I've tried going into this headset's EQ settings and lowering the mids and highs so that those gunshots aren't ear-piercing, but if you lower the mids and highs too much on this headset, then they do end up sounding super shallow. So overall, this headset sounds fine and it gets the job done, but if you're a competitive FPS player, then I would look at something else because of the lack of dynamic range compression. But if you're somebody that likes to play a lot of open world games, then this headset will definitely get the job done. And there's also the added benefit of Bluetooth so that you can play a game and listen to a podcast at the same time. But now let's talk about the microphone on this headset. Now, first off, I do got to point out that this microphone does not detach from the headset itself. So if you want to use this headset as a normal pair of headphones, then this microphone is still going to be there. Now, you can't adjust the gain or EQ of this microphone, but you can play around with the mic monitoring, and you can also play around with the brightness of the mic LED. Now, sound quality-wise, this microphone sounds good and clear, and it does lean more towards the natural side. But this microphone doesn't do all that much to block out any ambient noise. So if you're playing with the AC turned on a hot summer night, then you might be a little bit of a distraction to your teammates. However, this microphone does have auto muting, and right now for this test, auto mute is set to the highest level. Now, auto muting is pretty self-explanatory. As soon as I stop talking, the microphone will automatically mute itself. So at least when you're not talking, you're not going to be a constant distraction to your friends. But when you start talking, this microphone is still going to pick up a decent amount of ambient noise. But nonetheless, the microphone on this headset is pretty good, but you do want to try to play in a quieter room with this headset. So with all that being said, Xbox's new gaming headset is fine, especially for $100. And personally, I really like that this headset has Bluetooth, so you can game and listen to a podcast at the same time, and I really like that it's mic auto mutes. But there are some shortcomings that might make you want to go with third-party options. First is their fit. They get the job done, but there are third-party options out there that fit more naturally, are more breathable, and this headset is a little bit on the smaller side. But then sound quality wise, this headset gets the job done, but it is a little on the bass heavier side and it does sound a little narrow. But due to its lack of dynamic range compression, if you're a competitive FPS player, then this wouldn't be my first pick. And then there's the audio jack. For me, this is such a big deal because you never know. Personally, I feel that as long as your Xbox controller has an audio jack, then so should your headset. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. If you want to pick any of the products up mentioned in this video, those will be linked in the description down below, and you can also support the channel by checking out the merch store. But other than that, I'll catch you next time.